Hi, I'm Shaul. In the previous part of this little series, we identified a few factors that contribute to the depth of a 3D image. The first one was a spreading out of the midtones. They look linear, properly spread out. So there is more tonal information in the midtones, which makes it look natural to the eye. The second factor was a thin transition zone around the edges that make the edges maybe a bit less sharp, but help separate between different layers of the image, even when they are close together. The third factor, related to the second, is a thinner depth of field, which is a result of the diminished acuity of edges. Now, next, I wanted to relate those factors to elements or aspects of lens design. In order to do that, I needed a large variety of lens designs for testing. Preferably as varied as possible. Now, fortunately, or actually unfortunately, I have collected during the years a lot of lenses. I'm a bit obsessed about lenses, you see, so I have quite a lot. I never had a reason to take all those lenses out and count them before, and it was quite a humbling experience, I must tell you. I dug in the different drawers and found 50 different lenses. I never thought I had so many. Those lenses are from different periods. They have different mounts, different focal lengths, of course, quite different optical designs. So I thought it might be a good sample to explore the relation between the rendering of the image and the property of the lens. So out of the 50 lenses, 42 were primes and 8 were zooms. Focal lengths range between 20 and 135 millimeters. Some of the lenses were vintage, old designs, and some of them were new or even very new. The mounts used were rangefinder mounts, SLR mounts, and even mirrorless mounts. The lenses were mostly made in Japan, but some of them were made in East Germany, Russia, or China. To test the depth perception of the different lenses, I put up a little scene which I used as a test bench. Importantly, it included an organic element and flat manufactured elements. I made sure the scene was not too boring, so I can look at it many, many times over the next few days. The shooting parameters I used, first the scene was located under a window facing north, just above it. So I got a nice diffused daylight. The f-stops I used were f5.6 or f8, depending on focal lengths. I didn't want to stress the optical designs too much because some of the lenses are old and a bit shaky. The shots were made handheld. Sorry for that, and you can blame my laziness on it. White balance was automatic, but it was equalized between different shots in post. The zooms were shot at about 1/3 into their range. So let's say I had a 20 to 80 millimeter zoom, so I shot it around 40 millimeters. To create a control to the test, one of the zooms was shot at 4 different focal lengths, and the resulting images were mixed with all the rest of the images. In tests like this, it is important to separate completely between the observer and the designer of the test. In this case, it was the same person, so I had to make sure there's complete blindness. So what I did, I gave each lens a random ID number between 1 and 53 and saved the resulting images under the ID name. Then I waited 2 days and evaluated photos. There was no chance I could remember which ID stood for which lens. When evaluating the depth in each photo, I used a scale of 4 scores. Score number 1 stood for very flat images. Score number 2 stood for flat images, 3 for somewhat poppy images, and 4 for extremely poppy images. In cases when I wasn't sure which score to assign, I took the liberty to go halfway, such as in the following examples. Next, I looked online and found a diagram of the optical design for each lens. It was quite a task, especially for older lenses. Anyway, I specified 6 different parameters and wrote them down for each lens. First, it was the total number of elements, then the number of groups, then the number of low dispersion glass elements, whether extra low dispersion, special low dispersion. You get the idea. Then I estimated the percentage of low dispersion glass out of the total glass in the optical design. Next was the low dispersion proximity, which is the number of non-low dispersion glass elements between the rearmost low dispersion element and the sensor. And finally, the number of aspherical elements in the lens design. I also calculated the group complexity, which is the division of element count by group count, which gives the average number of elements in a group. I first used multiple regression to analyze the observations. Multiple regression is a well-established analysis method. Basically, it tries to isolate the clean effect of each independent variable on the dependent variable, which is 3D pop in this example. The problem is that there are a lot of interactions between independent variables. For example, lenses that have a lot of low dispersion glass also tend to have a lot of aspherical glass. So you need to analyze those interactions too, and by the time you finish, you don't have many degrees of freedom to look at the actual variables. So I ran a stepwise process before that, which is a process of elimination. What it does is it takes all the related variables and leaves only one of them, which is the best predictor for the behavior of 3D pop. After all that done, I was left with two unrelated variables that affect the amount of 3D pop. The first one was the percentage of low dispersion glass in the lens, which was highly significant. The more ED glass you have in the lens, the less 3D pop. This relation was quite linear. The second one, which is a lot less significant, was group complexity. The more complex the average group, the more 3D pop you get. I also tried another approach, which is more qualitative and non-parametric, much looser, which is the partition tree. This method uses a set of cutoff points of different variables to try to cluster together lenses with similar behavior. This approach is quite automatic and doesn't require any prejudices or hypotheses. The first cutoff point, which is the number of low dispersion elements in the lens, split between lenses with very low depth, very flat, and the rest of the lenses. If you want any chance for some 3D pop in your images, you should choose a lens with 3 low dispersion elements or less. The second split was between flat and poppy lenses. The cutoff point was the percentage of low dispersion glass used in the lens. Lenses that have more than 10% low dispersion glass are flat, while lenses with less than 10% low dispersion glass are poppy to 1 degree or another. At the third level, there was a good split between somewhat poppy lenses and extremely poppy lenses. That was dependent on group complexity. Complex groups tended to give highly poppy images. Cutoff point was 1.27 elements in a group on average. Now let's look at some examples used in this series before to see how well the partition model can predict the behavior of the lenses. To conclude, low dispersion glass weakens the appearance of 3D pop in images, makes them flatter. The more low dispersion glass in a lens, the flatter the images will look. While multi-element groups contribute to the perception of depth in images. This is more prominent in low LD glass lenses. Neither of the analysis methodologies revealed a relation between the number of total elements and 3D pop, which is contrary to some opinions. Perhaps more importantly, it is possible to predict the rendering of a lens from looking at its optical design. In the next part of this series, we will try to look at
different types of glass to understand what makes it about low dispersion glass that eliminates 3D pop.